Good morning. After months of debate, Seoul confirms its application to the China-led Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank as a founding member. Black box analysis reveals the haunting last moments of Germanwings Flight 9525, pointing to the co-pilot's deliberate intent to crash the aircraft. And reaching out to the public, K-pop stars, both new and established, are hitting the streets of Seoul through guerrilla gigs. And centuries of Korea's food tradition speak through what is known as jang. With fermented soybeans as the base, it's the jangs that provide the flavor. On Korea Today, Friday, March 27, 2015.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And nice to have you along on a Friday morning. Welcome to Korea Today. I'm Kim In-jung with Kim Young and Jin-ju. This weekend is going to be an exciting one for you baseball fans out there.
That's right. The hunt to take the championship crown from the Samsung Lions is on, and for the first time in history, the Korea Baseball Organization is going to have the most number of teams. That's a count of 10. And the most number of games to match that.
Right. A total of 5 games will take place every day except for Mondays, and the attention is now on how the new team KT will do this season. They'll be facing off against Lotte tomorrow.
Right.
So
time to hit the thunder sticks. Right?
The thunder sticks, right? And of course, Korean baseball, the stadiums get filled with loud cheers and also a very enthusiastic crowd. So if you haven't gone to a Korean baseball game, it's time to check it out starting tomorrow. All right, now we're going to set that aside for now and jump to the top story for this Friday morning. Korea's finance ministry confirmed on Thursday that Seoul will join the China-led Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank as one of its founding members. In a widely expected move, Seoul submitted its application ahead of Tuesday's deadline, stressing the decision was made with Korea's best interests in mind. China surpasses the United States as Korea's largest trading partner, and joining as a founding member is expected to help bolster Seoul's influence in the international finance sector. It is also likely to open doors for domestic companies seeking to participate in large-scale AIIB-funded infrastructure projects. European members such as the UK and France have submitted their applications despite U.S. opposition to the new multinational lender that could rival the World Bank. Washington, Seoul's biggest military ally, has been expressing concerns over Beijing's governance and influence in the bank. The AIIB is the first multilateral financial institution that Korea joins as a founding member.
President Park Geun-hye has approved a hotly debated anti-corruption law that subjects public officials and influential individuals to criminal punishment if they are found to have received money or gifts, irrespective of whether favors were granted. The law, set to go into effect in September next year, stipulates that public servants, media executives, and private school faculty and their spouses who've received more than 1 million won, roughly $900 worth of gifts or money, will face a prison sentence of up to 3 years. Critics argue that the law could violate individual freedom guaranteed by the Constitution, while journalists say it might hinder press freedom. Civic groups, in the meantime, welcome the anti-graft law, saying it will help rid Korean society of corruption and lobbying.
Yesterday, Thursday, here in Korea was the first day of this year's Inter-American Development Bank meeting, which is taking place in Korea's southern port city of Busan. Along with some 6 other related events, the annual meeting aims to boost cooperation in development between Asian and Latin American economies and serves as an opportunity for Korean businesses and personnel to enter the Latin American market. For more on this year's gathering, we connect live to Arirang News' Shin Se-min, who is down in Busan to cover the event. Good morning to you.
Morning, Jin-ju. Yes, I'm here at Busan's Bexco, or precisely at its parking lot. Now, the venue behind me is where some 3,000 participants from 48 IDB member nations will be coming in to take part in the business gatherings today. Now, participants are gearing up for this Day 2 meeting. Now, many of them will be filling in the auditorium at the venue, pitching their ideas and products to many of their potential partners. Now, Korea is one of the 3 Asian member nations to have joined the pact, along with Japan and China. And this year, it marks its 10th anniversary of membership. Since joining, Korea has been able to lure in some fruitful partnerships and benefit from various bilateral business deals. The Dominican Republic, Brazil, Mexico, and Peru, those are just a few of the Latin American countries doing business with Korean companies. Korea's finance ministry says trade volume with the Latin American countries more than doubled last year, up to $54.2 billion US. 10 years ago, when Korea first joined the IDB, it was a mere $2.2 billion. During that same period, the amount of direct investment to the region also rose sixfold to $35 billion.
So it's a very vibrant relationship, and also it's quite a high value added relationship in terms of Korea. The Korean companies are investing and are producing some of the most sophisticated products in the world, and the Latin American, the Caribbean people and companies are contributing to those global supply chains of the Korean companies. So we find undoubtedly that the region poses an opportunity.
Through 101 business summits, over 700 local and foreign companies, mostly small and mid-sized enterprises, are making new connections. Sehan Tradings, a Korean steel product manufacturing company that supplies shipbuilding and heavy machinery industries, participated in an IDB 101 counseling session for the first time. The company is hopeful that it may find Latin American business partners in the coming days.
Cheaper Chinese ships fueling the global market have made supplying the naval industry more competitive. I am looking to see if my company can expand in the Latin American region through meeting their businesses here.
The interest is far from one-sided. Latin American companies also want to make deals with Korean partners.
We believe that this is a very good market, and we like the culture, we like the quality that we have seen not only in our type of market but in different types of globally known Korean products and markets like cars and electrical products, as in cell phones, and basically you are the leader in the area.
Latin American countries also have much to offer Korea. Abundant agricultural wealth, including the coffee industry, plenty of natural resources, 1/5 of the global mineral resources, and those are just a few.
The Latin American market is one that many Korean companies have yet to tackle. Countries there are rich in resources with an annual growth rate of 6%. It's the next target market for many Korean businesses, both large and mid-sized.
It's difficult to quantify the volume of the deals actually being signed, as a business summit aims to build trust in businesses rather than just closing sales. IDB Group officials think of it as a jumping-off point because it opens up new opportunities for many outside the summit after the meeting is over.
So, Simon, today we enter the second day of the annual gathering. And how was the first day? And what were some of the Korean industries that Latin American countries showed interest in?
Well, yesterday alone, a total of $2.75 million of deals were signed on products such as pineapples, frozen fruits, and sesame seeds, mostly agricultural goods. And these are just a few of many more to come. Even the IDB officials emphasize that the sole purpose of having this business summit is so that the entrepreneurs meet up with their potential partners, setting up a groundwork. So even if they're not signing the deal at the site, it still means a lot looking ahead. And in terms of the amount of the deals being signed, it may not be a lot for some, it may not be impressive for some, but consider this, many of them are first-time businessmen or entrepreneurs entering these partnerships with Latin American countries, so it is a great head start for many.
It definitely is, and I understand that the event will end this coming Sunday. What else is lined up besides the business summits?
Well, let me begin by telling you what's ahead of today's schedule. Now, another round of SME Business Summit will take place throughout the day, giving more opportunities for entrepreneurs to meet up with their potential partners, because it is extremely difficult for many to meet up in person physically, if not for events like this. And at the same time, there's also an event forum for many first-time businessmen trying to enter the Latin American market. And as for the weekend, high-level talks will take place involving finance ministers and central bank governors, covering the IDB's structural reform in the private sector, which is the largest reform deal being discussed, along with the long-term development strategy for the organization. Chinju?
It seems there's great potential for future cooperation in business between Asia and Latin America. Thank you, Sammy, for that report this morning. That was Arirang News' Shin Se-min reporting live on this year's Inter-American Development Bank meeting in Busan.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, all of today's local papers are reporting on President Park Geun-hye's speech made at a memorial ceremony yesterday, marking the 5th anniversary of the sinking of the South Korean warship Cheonan by a surprise torpedo attack from North Korea. Today, we'll begin with an image on this news here on 중앙일보. And this picture is titled, "We Will Not Forget the Heroes of the Cheonan Sinking." And these words coming from the president as she paid tribute to the fallen sailors from the tragic incident. In her speech, she said that North Korea must abandon the idea that nuclear weapons will protect its regime, urging Pyongyang to stop reckless provocations. The president also issued a stern message saying she will never again allow for such an occurrence. Now moving on to another headline here on 동아일보 at the top. This one regarding Korea's membership of the AIIB. It's called "Korea Dithers on AIIB Decision and Blows the Chance of Being the Second Largest Shareholder." Now, as you heard previously in the program's headlines, Korea has agreed to join the China-led Regional Development Bank as one of its founding members. However, if we take a look at the sub-headlines here, the paper says that Korea's prolonged hesitation on joining the bank has resulted in the reduction of its position within the institute, as India and Australia will compete to become the second largest shareholder, while Korea is expected to take third or fourth place within the new bank. And the Daily says that because of this, Korea may not be able to exert as much influence as initially thought. And shifting focus to another topic here on the side of 조선일보, and this one is regarding the miracle on the Hangang River. The title says, "Japan, do not smear Korea's miracle of Hangang River." This is a concerted sentiment by many Korean experts with knowledge on the matter. To give you some background, on Tuesday this week, the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Japan posted on its U.S. and Korean embassies' websites a promotional video of Japan's aid to Korea and other Asian countries from the 60s through the 80s. Now, this period for Korea is commonly dubbed the miracle of the Hangang River, a term used to refer to the country's post-war economic growth, including rapid industrialization and a significant rise in living standards. But if we look at these bullet points here, the experts here have pointed out that the content of the video is rather exaggerated and one-sided, portraying Japan's role in an overly positive light. This is because 70% of the international loans at the time of Korea's early stages of development were actually provided in the form of aid by the U.S. and Europe. Experts also explain that a big part of the country's success in breaking out of poverty during the post-war era is a result of apt government policies and the will of the Korean people. And wrapping with news on the Mail Business newspaper, we'll go to this one here, and this is regarding Samsung Group. It says that Lee Jae-yong's big dream to advance Samsung's business in finance. So Lee Jae-yong, the vice chairman of Samsung Electronics, met with Jang Jae-min, the chairman of CITIC Group, in Beijing on Wednesday. And here they agreed to expand cooperation in asset management and other businesses in finance. Now, Citigroup is one of China's largest state-owned conglomerates involved in banking, securities, insurance, and real estate. And the recent meeting comes on the heels of a strategic alliance agreement that was signed between Samsung Securities and Citic Securities over 2 weeks ago. This is a move seen as reflecting Lee Jae-yong's aspirations to develop Samsung into a top financial firm as well. Now, that was a look at our local headlines this Friday, and following are the stock numbers from Thursday.
Time now to get a check on the weather. Midday highs will rise as high as 20 degrees Celsius in some parts of Korea, 21 degrees Celsius in Daegu.
I think it's now time to safely put your winter gear away. For more on today's weather conditions, we'll go to Chun Song-cho. She joins us from a special place this time around. Good morning, Song-cho.
Good morning, guys. Yes, about 120 kilometers south of Seoul is where I'm currently at, Gangjin, Chungcheongnam-do province. And to be more specific, I'm inside the Hyundai Integrated Steelworks, and I'm here especially today to show you guys a look inside the factory. But before that, let's talk about the weather first. Here in Gangjin, the temperatures are hovering around freezing right now. Quite a chilly start to the day, but you guys in Seoul should be enjoying a much warmer start this morning at 4 degrees Celsius. And it looks like the conditions are only going to get toastier today as mercury levels soar up to 16 in the afternoon. A high-pressure system lingering just west of the peninsula is allowing for plenty of sunshine and nice and crisp conditions all throughout the country. The atmosphere stays extremely dry as well, something we've been dealing with for quite some time now. The total amount of precipitation last year was only 66% of the average, and this is resulting in an exceptionally dry season this year, causing farmlands and reservoirs to expose their beds and wildfires to break out here and there. Advisories and warnings have been issued for the majority of the country, except for the west coastal regions. But looking on the brighter side, we do have some precipitation in store for the central regions toward the end of the weekend. It's only going to start drizzling on Saturday night. So up until then, you can enjoy warm, beautiful spring weather to the fullest. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Watch out for the big temperature gap between the highs and lows all across the country. Midday highs reach 17 in Seoul while topping at 20 in Gwangju. This is all for me with the weather forecast, and I'll be back later in the show.
More confusion this morning on the mysterious crash of Germanwings Flight 9525. French prosecutors say the plane's co-pilot had deliberate intent to drive the aircraft into the Alps. For the latest on this and other global headlines, we'll connect with our Eunice Kim at the NewsCenter. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning.
This is a shocking revelation that leads many to wonder whether this co-pilot was suicidal.
Yeah, and that is a possibility that had crossed the minds of reporters at a presser held by France's lead prosecutor in the criminal investigation into this crash. He said it was too early to determine a motive, but that a deliberate intent, at least in his mind, was there.
The most plausible, realistic interpretation, as far as we are concerned, is that the co-pilot, through voluntary abstention, refused to open the door of the cabin for the captain, and then pressed the button which caused the aircraft to lose altitude.
Mr. Robin confirmed earlier reports saying the more experienced pilot was locked out of the cockpit sliding audio that was retrieved from the plane's cockpit recorder. He said there was no known ties to terrorism or extremists and added that passengers likely were unaware of the impending danger until those final moments of the a rapid 8-minute descent when screams were heard in the audio. Lufthansa, the parent company of Germanwings, has since identified the 28-year-old German co-pilot as Andreas Lubitz. Police in Germany have searched his home for clues to determine a possible intent behind Tuesday's plane crash that, of course, had killed all 150 people on board. Head of Lufthansa said Lubitz had taken a break from training for several months 6 years ago and was reinstated after his suitability was reestablished. Meanwhile, recovery operations continue in search of bodies and the second black box, the flight data recorder.
I'm sure more information will come out in the following weeks and months. We'll leave that story there for now. And it has been confirmed that Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will address both houses of U.S. Congress when he visits Washington next month.
That's right. U.S. Speaker John Boehner made that announcement of the invitation, and it would be a note of history as well, since Prime Minister Abe would be the first Japanese leader to be given this rare platform. Boehner said Abe's speech will give Americans an opportunity to hear ways to expand economic and security cooperation from a close ally. U.S. officials are hoping to see a breakthrough in trade talks with Japan, especially in light of in relation to the massive Trans-Pacific Partnership Pact. Now, Abe will visit the U.S. from April 26th through May 2nd, and he is also set to attend a formal state dinner at the White House one day before his congressional address. And while foreign leaders addressing both houses of Congress is usually quite rare, Abe will already be the third to do so this year, following Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, both of them this month, Min-jung.
All right. Well, all eyes will be on Prime Minister Abe and on his message about Japan's history, if at all.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you, Eunice, for that.
Sure thing.
Now stay with us on Korea Today. We'll check out the new busking scene involving not just the new kids on the block, but well-established stars. Guerrilla gigs are becoming one of the most popular methods to reach out to the public, and there is no shortage in the names behind them. Denny Hong hits the streets to check it out, so do stay with us.
A memorial ceremony was held yesterday to mark the 150th year since Korean independence activist An Jung-geun was executed.
That's right. The event was held in China's Dalian City, the very place where he was executed. Our Seo Mi-sorang joins us for more on this. Good morning to you.
Good morning. That's right. Now, An Jung-geun was, of course, executed for assassinating then Japanese Resident General of Korea Ito Hirobumi when Korea was at the verge of being annexed by Japan. Now, the ceremony yesterday was held at the An Jung-geun Memorial Hall inside the Lechon prison site museum here, where An was imprisoned and later executed. Now, a memorial ceremony had been held every year in Lechon, but yesterday was the first time the ceremony moved from being a purely civilian organized affair to a state-run affair with an official from the Patriots Ministry in attendance. And moving on to lighter news, with forsythias and azaleas expected to bloom in Seoul tomorrow, the Seoul City government compiled a list of the 150 best roads to best check out the spring flowers. Now, the list is organized into different themes, such as the best roads to drive through, the best walkways inside a forest, and my favorite, the best walkways for unique flowers. For example, you can head to the Panpo Seoreseom Island for bright yellow rape flowers, the Jungnam Camping Forest for pear blossoms, and this whole botanical garden for more than 100 types of irises. And you can view the entire list online at the Seoul City government website.
It'll be cool to find your neighbor in that list, right?
Exactly, because sometimes, as pretty as the flowers are and as unique as they are, you don't want to go too far. And if, say, for example, you're on your morning walk or during your lunch break, if you want to visit somewhere, then what you can do on the website, just scroll down to your district where your work or home is, and then there should be at least a few options nearby. And from unique flowers to unique marathon, there are a few unique marathons coming up next month, but I've got two of the best ones for you. Now, the first one is called La Fuma Rhythm Walking Marathon. Now, instead of running 40 plus kilometers like proper marathons, you only have to walk 5 kilometers with this one. And even then, there will be street musicians every 500 meters to cheer you on. The second one is called a zombie run. With this one, you have to run 3 kilometers inside an amusement park. But it's not as simple as it sounds because all the lights are turned off and there are hidden obstacles on the way, as well as zombies that jump out of nowhere.
I just cannot wrap my head around why people would do that zombie run.
So the zombies come running after you, and there are 2 ways to get disqualified. If you get tagged by a zombie or bitten by a zombie, then you'll get disqualified. But on the other hand, if a zombie, comes and tries to tag you, but you hit them by reflex, you'll be disqualified as well.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's how things will go down with Young, I think.
I mean, working as a zombie, I think that could be a hazardous experience. Some people just might get scared and just out of reflex. Who knows? Maybe this guy's a boxer, a punch comes out, and boom, then you're disqualified, and maybe a lawsuit at hand. Huh?
So not the best job, I suppose, to be the zombie.
Well, it's all in good fun, so wear some gloves if you are a boxer or something, right?
Sounds great. Thank you
very
so much, Misorang.
You're welcome.
And it is now 7:26 here in Korea. Many people are waking up right about now. Well, today we'll check out a place that really never sleeps, the country's first steel maker that was founded in 1953.
That's right. Unlike others, it runs both blast and electric arc furnaces, including the Dangjin plant here. It operates 4 factories in Korea and China and works globally through branches in the U.S., Germany, Australia, and many more. Now, Chun Sung-cho is standing by. Now let's take a peek inside the factory.
Over to you, Sung-cho.
Hi guys again. So yes, Hyundai Steel was founded in 1953, becoming Korea's first steel maker ever. And unlike others, it runs both electric arc and blast furnaces, including the Dangjin plant here. It operates 4 factories in Korea and 1 factory in China, and runs globally all throughout the country in countries like the US, Germany, Australia, and many more. So without further ado, let's take a peek inside the factory right now. Wow, it's enormous in here. Look at all these humongous machines lined up all together endlessly. So what you're looking at is a hot rolling process where a metal stock or slab is passed through rollers and passed with extreme pressure, where it's reduced in thickness and becomes evenly flat, kind of like making spaghetti, if you will. It almost feels surreal having these giant machines all working together in such a vast space. And it's about 28 minutes past 7 a.m. right now, but these machines are already running at full capacity. Employees that I see around here have all been working since the wee hours of the morning. Such a tremendous amount of work put together all behind the scenes. And if you want to see what the end products look like, please stay tuned. I'll be back in just a bit.
Play ball. Now, with the arrival of spring comes the arrival of a brand new baseball season here in the nation.
I know you're really excited.
Oh, yeah.
Are you excited, Jinju?
Yes, I am.
Okay. 2015 KBO League season kicks off tomorrow, and we'll get a preview of what to expect in the new season with our Lee Seung-jae, who joins us. Good morning. I know you're excited.
I am very excited.
The bear.
This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Well, baseball fans, as in we, including myself as well, with the opening series kicking off tomorrow. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who haven't bought tickets just yet, and chances are you're not going to find them now because they're all pretty much sold out. But you're going to have more games this season now, so there are tons of other games you can attend. But before all that, there are several changes in the league this year, including the name of the league officially being called the KBO League. Now, either way, for the first time ever in the history of the league, we're going to see 10 teams playing the KBO League, as the Suwon KT Wiz, the expansion team, will join the KBO League after spending a season in the Futures League. And of course, with an addition of a brand new team means more baseball games this season, as the season will go from having 128 games to 144 games this season, which is pretty much great news for fans. But the bad news one of the best things about going to the KBO League ballparks was the fact that you can bring in food and drinks from outside and can even get food delivered, right? But now all outside food or drinks are banned with the new regulations, so maybe not all changes
You cannot
are good.
order pizza in.
But you can still get it delivered from within, right?
No. Well, you can only buy stuff inside the stadium.
They have, surely they must have chicken there.
They have chicken, but
Okay.
the fun is like bringing a cooler and everything. We don't have that
Okay.
now.
All right. Well, we'll have to buy them inside the stadium.
Right, exactly.
So now let's talk about the teams. Who are the favorites to win the season?
I mean, it's
Samsung.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's one of the teams, right? It's hard to predict, kind of just judging by the spring exhibition games that we saw before the season in itself. But you kind of get a gist of what to expect in the new season. But of course, like Young said, the first team you always talk about when it comes to winning it all would be the Samsung Lions, right? I mean, they've won 4 straight Korean Series titles and are going after their 5th straight. But it's going to be tough with the aging team that they have. So a lot of the experts also have chosen other teams to contend this year. The Nexon Heroes, even without Kang Jong-ho, should be able to make the playoffs again. And the Doosan Bears, with the kind of depth that they have on the team, should do much better than last year. Terrible year for them last year. But there's the SK Wyverns, who everyone seemed to choose as the dark horse team with a new head coach, and it's expected to be doing pretty well. So this is going to be quite an interesting season of free-for-all, basically.
Well, you know, speaking of the Bears, every time I went to a game with you, they've always lost.
Well, I call it the curse of the young. I call it the curse of the young.
I should not go to Doosan games.
Exactly.
So we want to hear what your pick is. Which
For the
team do you
champion,
think
is it going to be the
will win
Samsung
this
Lions? You know,
season?
last year I got pretty close, right? I
Right.
picked the
I remember
Nexon
that.
Heroes to win it, and they came oh so close. But this year, hopefully, I can get it right. Well, the team I'm going to be picking this year, and it's not biased this year. My professional prediction here is the Doosan Bears. Now, they haven't won since 2001, and they came close 2 years ago against the Samsung Lions. But this year looks very different. I mean, they've got an improved bullpen, which was the biggest weakness for the team, and it's going to help them out with the longer season that we're going to see. Now, at the same time, they have a great starting rotation, especially after signing former Lotte giant Chang Won-jun to a big deal this offseason. And aside from the Samsung Lions, really, the Doosan Bears also boast the best depth in the league as well. So a lot of the players on the bench can easily be starting players on other teams. And of course, finally, a new head coach in Kim Tae-young, a former Bear himself, has been working with many of the players, doing a great job as well. So with all these combinations, I picked the Doosan Bears, and it's an unbiased professional pick.
That was a very long, unbiased professional pick there. Now, who would you see as like the third best, maybe, or the second most likely?
I would have to go with the Samsung Lions still. Maybe a repeat of 2 years ago, Samsung Lions, Doosan Bears, maybe. Although I would like
Bears.
to.
You're dropping that name a lot today, the Doosan Bears.
Well, we expect some tickets from you.
Well, it's all for you guys.
Thank you.
Always a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
All right, still ahead on Korea Today. Now, jang carries centuries of the country's tradition. It holds an important place on Korea's dining room table as well. The most quintessential of them are doenjang, ganjang, and gochujang. Made with fermented soybeans, Joe McPherson takes a look at the old and new trends behind the Korean jang.
Now, K-pop singers are making surprise appearances on the streets of Seoul these days to better connect with their fans, meeting them in person. And our Denny Hong joins us this morning to tell us more. Good morning, Denny.
Good morning, guys. Different side of the table, right? But yeah, so we are going to be talking today mainly about how there's a lot more Guerrilla gigs going on now, but it's not just the debuting acts that they're just trying to make their way into the industry, but of course more well-established ones as well too. And so this is kind of a rekindling of an older trend, so let's get into it. K-pop stars are busy hitting the streets, and unlike past events centered specifically around their fans and closed gatherings, now going out and mingling with the public through street performances is becoming a new trend. But it's newcomers to the industry or it's more established well names, as we mentioned, Guerrilla gigs are the way to go. The girl group that revived this trend last year is EXID. A fan cam performance spread like wildfire online and pushed their song back up on the charts, which encouraged the girl group to return to the stage from a hiatus. To recreate this story, many idol stars are heading out to the streets, such as CLC, which follows the footsteps of 4 Minute and Beast. And before their debut, the group started busking around the Hongdae area. Fiesta is another one of those names, making surprise appearances in Myeongdong and Daeangno and landing themselves in the spotlight. Celebrities are discovering a newfound love for Guerrilla gigs, and we hit the streets with them to experience it. JJCC is a 5-member boy band that has been busking regularly on Saturdays. The group is already receiving attention as an idol group created by famous actor Jackie Chan, and they say there's a reason why they chose to head out to the streets of Hongdae.
일단 근데 방송을 했을 때 팬들을 이렇게 보고 싶고 약간 이제 사인 보내주고 하트도 보내주고 싶은데 일단 카메라에 비춰진 모습이 제일 중요하잖아요 저희한테요 방송에서는요. 그래서 그게 많이 아쉬운데 이번 이렇게 콘서트를 하면서 길거리 콘서트 하면서 너무 더 친해진 것 같아요.
여러분 소리 질러 주실 거죠? 질러 주실 거죠?
The performance is mostly a simple setup without any proper equipment, but the atmosphere is as lively as any concert. The stage for these performances is not high up, but at ground level with their fans. It's also a great opportunity to reach out directly to them and express their gratitude. Now, some people have only gotten to know of JJCC today, but they're already in love with them.
다음 주에도 와주실 거죠? 감사합니다. 사랑합니다.
Talk about
this is just a great way for them to meet people. So yeah, it's a great way for their fans to connect with their fans. I think.
되게 좋아. 이런 기회가 앞으로 더 많았으면 좋겠어요 개인적으로.
그 관객이나 팬분들이 점점 많아지면서 호응도 점점 더 좋아지고 저희를 알아봐 주시는 분이 점점 더 많아지는 것 같아요.
As we mentioned before, Guerrilla gigs are popping up all over Seoul's streets, from groups that have just debuted to those that have been around for over 12 years.
During these performances, the singers are able to create a stronger bond with the audience, and they're also uploaded onto the internet, which means it can spread a lot faster. So I would say it has at least double the effect of publicity compared to conventional performances.
Guerrilla gigs are no longer practices that can be brushed aside as ineffective. They've even given birth to stars such as Crayon Pop, now known all over the world.
코리아 투데이 시청자 여러분, 불경! 안녕하세요, 크림파입니다.
They took off their hats this time around.
You were on the subway with them at one point.
Indeed. Now, with their second mini album, FM, the group has returned again this year before making their official return to the stage. Last weekend, the group popped up in Dongdaemun to showcase their new song.
저희가 여기가 동대문이 낯설지가 않거든요. 여기서도 게릴라도 많이 하고 또 무대도 많이 섰는데 그때 또 추억들이 많이 생각나는 것 같아요. 저희가 FM 정말 열심히 준비했으니까 오늘 예쁘게 봐주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
During a time when the group was unknown and unable to get gigs on television, they went out to the streets in tracksuits and holding up signs with their names on it for publicity. This video attracted a lot of traffic online and landed the girl group in the streets of Hong Kong and Australia as well, drawing out an unexpected amount of attention.
이게 뭐지 하면서 몰리는 경우가 많거든요. 그래서 좀 처음엔 좀 호기심으로 지켜보셨다가 이렇게 좀 가만히 이렇게 자리에 이렇게 고정해 주셔서 봐주시면 저희도 굉장히 신이 나고 재밌는 것 같아요.
A far cry from their humble beginnings, Korean pop is now a name that lures in crowds by the masses, and they say it's all thanks to the experiences they had performing on the
그
street.
당시에는 걸그룹들이 게릴라를 한다는 자체가 좀 신기하게 봐주셨기 때문에 창피했지만 그래도 저희를 알려야겠다는 그 신념 하나로 즐겁게 저희 5명이서 마음을 똘똘 뭉쳐서 했던 것 같아요. 저희를 이 자리에 있게 해준 게릴라였기 때문에 앞으로도 크레용팝한테는 게릴라가 없어서는 안 될 존재가 될 것 같습니다.
Taking a step down from the big stage, K-pop stars are hitting the streets to offer a more intimate and casual setting in order to mingle with their fans and get their names out in the public while doing so.
Maybe we should hit the streets, right?
Doing
For like a
Broadcast right in the middle of
broadcast right in the middle of Myeongdong.
I mean, busking is nothing new. It's been done before, but it usually involved no-name singers who want to make it big, and oftentimes you're like, who are these people? But now all these well-established stars.
Well, you know, it's becoming definitely something that is a more commonplace thing to see now, and even more recently, from Girls' Day, we have Mina. She's actually going to be hitting the streets of Myeongdong to perform her songs from her upcoming solo album. And there was a small stage set up there, but it was a great opportunity to get closer with her fans, and she also signed autographs on site. So a lot of people flocked in, and traffic in the area was apparently in chaos because of this. And Mina actually says that 6 years ago, when no one really knew who she was, she had gone out busking, and this performance was to kind of remember those times and try to return to those basics. It's not just her, though. Other stars like Eric Nam and Roy Kim are singers that are pretty well recognized and have significant fan bases, but they've also held guerrilla gigs, and they say it's a good way to see how the public responds to their music as opposed to just their fans. And so when it comes to this, I think for them, they're just trying to find a more way to express their artistry by looking at people that not necessarily are their fans, but just the general public and seeing their reactions to their music.
Well, I've also seen certain fan cam footage of certain Korean drummers or certain just people going out there and showing what they've got. And, you know, some groups have actually benefited greatly from these fan cams, such as EXID. Tell us about the effects of the fan cams and what kind of promotion.
The quality, as you mentioned, might be a little bit lower, but of course it is just people with, you know, whatever cameras they might have on hand. And they actually have this name for these groups now. They're called the Jikimjok, right? Which is kind of like the fan cam tribe or the fan cam groups, right?
Direct
and so the good thing about them is they are very familiar with the choreography and, of course, you know, where the positioning is for everyone on the stage for their favorite singers they're going to be filming. And so they are able to kind of show them in the best possible light, even if it is more of a lower quality footage. And also they are able to shoot more candid moments with them, not only just when they're performing. And I guess the interesting thing is some of the more well-known filmographers of these fan cams, they're invited to the concerts and given really great seats by the agencies to film these. That way they can kind of put them online and maybe even reach fans that are not able to see them in person.
Interesting. Now, do you think that we'll be seeing more of these street performances as the weather is
we're
getting
going to put
warmer?
one on, so.
We are.
Well, you know, JJCC is going to be performing again tomorrow in Hongdae because, you know, it's a kind of a Saturday regular thing for them now. And of course, check out your local social media sites for your favorite celebrities and see if they are going to be performing soon because it is becoming warmer, and so maybe more and more are going to be going out.
Okay, so is it baseball or JJCC tomorrow? That's the big
well,
question.
Actually, you can probably combine them. We actually have a few of them performing in baseball stadiums as well, like usually too.
Perfect.
So you can do both.
All right, Denny.
Thanks
Thank
a
you very
lot.
much.
No problem.
We will go back to Songcho. She was in that steel maker, that steel mill.
You could see the cameras actually fogging up because of the heat and also the humidity of that location. So we'll go back to her. Songcho, back to you.
Right, guys, so I'm standing right in the middle of an enormous storage place where they stacked up hundreds of these hot rolled coils, and they're so heavy and big that they need that kind of huge machine to carry around those coils. So to put into perspective, this is how tall and big each coil is. This is huge and enormous. So these are hot roll coils which have been turned into steel sheets from that half molten state that we saw earlier on, that slab that we saw earlier on. They have been stretched into thin steel sheets, and now each sheet is about 2 millimeters thin, and they have been rolled into a coil. So that they can be stored easily and transported to other different manufacturers. So can you believe that this is what's used to make everything from our home appliances, cars, and even to gas pipelines? That's amazing, right? So now we know how all things still that we see around us every single day are produced. I hope the heat and energy that you saw here has kicked your morning off to a good start. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. This has been Chun Sung Cho, Korea Today.
Centuries of history and tradition loaded into the Korean jang. Now that's the basis that builds the final product, doenjang, ganjang, gochujang, and we're going to talk all about jang with Jang McPherson.
Good morning, Joe.
You just created a new name for me.
There you go. There you go. You can blog that one up. I'm Jang McPherson.
Well, yes. Well, Korea's cuisine is centered around rice, and jang is used to make it more delicious and nutritious. And it's just as popular today as it was millennia ago. So today, we're going to look at the more well-known jang. We have gochujang, doenjang, and ganjang. Doenjang, ganjang, gochujang. These are some of the Korean jang, or sauces made using fermented soybeans, otherwise known as doenjang. Doenjang has been around for more than a century, adding savory taste and good nutrition to the Korean diet.
Doenjang is a great source of protein and a great ingredient for food. Especially these days, a lot of research has proven that a substance in beans called isoflavone can help prevent breast cancer and gynecological cancers.
It also holds a special place in the spirit of the country. There's an old saying that if the jang goes bad, it signals unfortunate news is on its way for that household. This is why the day jang was made was considered one of the most important annual events. The dates for when this took place were also carefully selected, making jang only on days considered auspicious. This is a farm where people can learn to make traditional jang, the many sauces used in Korean cuisine. Now, people these days usually buy their jang in grocery stores, but some people still prefer to make it the old-fashioned way. And I'm going to give it a go. The traditional jang we're going to make here is doenjang. What's most important is having well-aged meju, blocks of fermented soybeans. The blocks are left to ferment for more than 6 months and cleaned before being placed in a clay pot. Added to this is salt water, and in terms of the ratio, just add enough salt that will make an egg float. Also put in chilies, jujubes, and charcoal.
되게 소독을 하는 거예요. 나쁜 불순물을 갖다가 쫙 빨아들이는 거예요. 참숯을 태워가지고 넣으면은.
The final touch is a straw rope with chili and charcoal roped in. This is to ward off evil spirits and invite in better taste. All you need to do now is wait about a year for it to ferment.
The well-aged jang has a silky smooth texture with a deep and refined taste, but jang that has just been made doesn't have that and it's bitter. So we age it for a long period of time to bring out deeper tastes.
Unlike the traditional doenjang that requires long months in waiting, you can also make a faster type, and that would be gochujang, known for its ample nutrients. It's made with boiled beans in a hot room, and unlike doenjang, gochujang will be fermented and ready within 3 days. Gochujang was also known as jeonggukjang, and some say it may have originated from the days of war when people didn't have time to sit waiting for their doenjang to ferment. It's relatively easy to make and ample with nutrition, so it has long been a favorite on any dining table in Korea. These days, some of the younger folk may struggle with the pungent smell it's so well known for, but it's still a crowd pleaser. Back in 2011, The royal area in Gyeongbokgung Palace where jang was made and stored was unveiled to the public. Jang was not only important for ordinary people, it was an important element on the royal table as well, with a servant dedicated only to making and maintaining the taste of jang being on service.
After 50 to 60 days, the liquid of the jang becomes soy sauce and the lumps of meju become doenjang. Then we separate the two and put them in different pots and leave them to age.
One of the most important jang during the Joseon dynasty was ganjang, or soy sauce. Depending on the period of fermentation, ganjang takes on a different thickness, meaning it can have multiple uses. These days, many people enjoy adding various ingredients to regular ganjang to create different tastes, known as mat ganjang. To make mat ganjang, boil onion peels, pilgo mushrooms, green onion roots, and other ingredients for roughly 20 minutes. Add this broth to ganjang with added sugar and let it sit for about 7 hours along with some lemon and apples.
Ganjang is salty, but in the case of matganjang, since you add stock, it's less sodium concentrated and it tastes sweet and smooth.
Now, it was commonly thought that Korean jang could only be used for Korean cuisine. But these days, there are efforts being made to break this conventional wisdom and add Korean jang to different flavors so you can highlight the charm of Korean jang in global cuisine.
The jang that leads the globalization of Korean cuisine is gochujang, otherwise known as chili paste. Compared to the centuries-old history that ganjang and doenjang have, gochujang may be considered a more recent addition, but it has become an essential element. Many people now think of the fiery gochujang when they think of Korea. Within the 100-year history, it has managed to become a symbol of Korean food for its hot taste that conjures up the image of driven and passionate Koreans. Gochujang is made by combining glutinous rice powder, meju, salt water, and chili powder. The paste gives off a fiery heat loved by many others around the world who enjoy spicy tastes, and the spiciness combined with the subtle sweet nature provides a great canvas for many foods, which is why it's being increasingly incorporated into international dishes. This is a restaurant famous for its gochujang fusion tastes. Its gochujang bulgogi fettuccine is the most famous of all, combining chili paste, bulgogi, and a cream sauce.
We get a lot of foreign customers, so I thought it would be nice to add a Korean taste to the menu, which was gochujang bulgogi.
The gochujang bulgogi pizza, which is topped with spicy bulgogi, is another favorite. The pizza is topped with small chunks of gochujang bulgogi and baked in a brick oven with mozzarella, completing a delicious fusion meal.
I was looking for something spicy and something with a little bit of meat, and this looked quite good.
Jang is an essential part of Korean cuisine that speaks to the roots of the country's taste and carries long-standing traditions. What stemmed from the wisdom and love for creative tastes of Korea's ancestors is now gearing up to take on taste around the world.
You know, most Koreans would agree that the meal is suddenly better when there's ganjang, gochujang, and doenjang. You know, it's a gourmet dish right there.
Right.
And it's all made from meju.
Right.
Right, fermented bean blocks.
Yeah, these bean blocks, which are rock hard. That was so interesting, just knock on those things. They're rock hard, and yeah, so you make all of that you make all your doenjang, gochujang, and ganjang with the meju.
It's like the core element.
Right, and they stay for a long time, so that's what's really good about them. You can store them, and they'll last for a very long time.
They make for good decorations when you go to these old Hanos.
Yes.
There are all these meju blocks
they
hanging
kind of
from
smell.
They do smell, but you know
it's
it
good
comes
smell.
with the territory, I guess.
I've been wanting to decorate my house with them, but I'm forbidden to do so. I really wish I was allowed to do that.
So, Joe, what would you say sets Korea's jang apart from other Western sauces?
Well, for one thing, it's fermented. A lot of Western sauces, you have to work on it a long time, but it's usually made within a day or so. But this one is just long time in making, so it's a very deep flavor in that.
Okay, and that popularity is kind of spreading overseas as well.
Yeah, and especially in countries where herbs and fresh ingredients are not really common, like say in Russia and the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, there's a burger place that puts ganjang in their burgers, and they put it on their kebabs. And in Russia, I've heard that they spread samjang on bread. You know,
Oh, really?
Yeah, the mixed paste that we use for
Let's go for
barbecue.
that samjang sandwich there.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
Well, yeah, samjang or gochujang on a burger. What do you think? Not bad. Eh?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm-
it's pretty good.
Yes.
Definitely, it
Oh
works.
yeah, samjang on a burger is really good.
With a samgyeopsal patty on it.
Oh wow, that's taking it to a whole new level.
You know,
there.
you're giving all these new business ideas to our viewers. You know? So one of these days, a restaurant's going to open, and we're just going to lose out on that, right?
All right, thank you so much,
Thank
Joe. See you
you.
next week.
All right, Joe.
All right, well, this is where we say goodbye on this Friday morning. This weekend is going to be fantastic.
All right.
All the flowers and the baseball match games.
That's right, also JJCC. And we'll see you back here on Monday morning at 7 a.m.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.